Hello, everybody. How are we doing? Welcome back to the football show here on We Global with me, Mark, Imran, and Kyle. We hope you enjoyed the first show. Thank you so much for those who watched, who left us a comment. We hope you enjoyed it. If you can, please hit like on Facebook, follow the We Global page, and please also subscribe to us on YouTube. So it's the end of game week 2. And we are getting together for our chat. So how are you doing, guys? How are we doing?
I'm doing great, thank you.
You had an excellent week yourself, Carl?
Yeah.
Yeah? Awesome. Doing very well. You're doing well, I'm sure you are, and I'm sure you are after Sunday as well. So you should be doing great. So new season in the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen Fantasy Premier League. And we kind of gave it the first week to settle down. But now that we're into the second week, what are you thinking, guys?
Unexpected starts from players. Really? Yeah. Disappointing overall for me, but it's shaping up to be a really tough season.
Yeah, I would agree with that, and we'll see that in a minute. What about you, Kyle?
Well, I mean, I know for a fact that certain decisions I made off the top have been a bit, like as Imran said in the first episode, you never really know what managers are going to do with their starting 11. That's definitely turned out to be bad for me. So,
well, if we look at the top half of the table, we can see. I think Imran, you're the only one of us that's made it.
I'm just about hanging on to it as well.
Yeah. But still, you know, you've made it to the top half. So we've got a couple of new people in the league. I noticed SN and Dan. I think we spoke about them in the first show as well, actually.
Yeah.
Stormed in already.
Yep, SN straight off the bat, 2 weeks in a row, he's won both game weeks by quite a margin. And we spoke about him being potentially with the wildcard picks last week, and well, we've shown true to that. He's even despite poor captaincy choices last game week, he's soared to the top of the league.
Poor captaincy choice. In fact, we'll get a look at his team shortly, but perhaps the bottom half is more suitable to our conversation here, Kyle.
Well, I did notice that this is the lowest I've been in the last 2 seasons. Like, I was quite proud of myself last season because I was never below 10th, but I'm already 14th. So definitely not as strong a start as I had last season. So I definitely need to pick myself up.
I've got a feeling that this is going to be hyper competitive this year. You know, I've just got a feeling.
Yeah.
Did anybody look across the globe to see where we were in regards to all the other leagues and scoring? Because this looks like a pretty high scoring week for our league, actually.
Compared to the averages.
I know in game week 1, we were like the top half of the table was extremely high. Like were like, I think the average was like 40 or 50 and the majority of the league was on like 70, 80. So I was like, I mean, Essen had already broken the 100 club. So I was like, wow. Okay,
in game week 1.
In game week 1, yeah. So
wow.
Yeah, I knew he was a threat.
Well, I mean, I can make no excuses. You can see me sitting there propping up the league, but you know, I know there'll be some people who will disappear once the league gets going. There'll be people who will be forgetting. So that's my strategy. or the extent of my strategy, I should say. I'm relying on those people who are not going to change their teams to help me to get up the table. But we'll come on to my team in a bit more. So let's talk about this guy then. Kabak and Chips, the team.
One aim.
Yeah, man. Well done. I like it.
Like Carl said, he broke the 100 club in the first game week, which I think last year to break 100, I had to wait till the first double game week happened. And even then, I just about got it. To break it in the first game week is ridiculous. And that was a week where he got his captaincy spot on with Salah. I think everybody did. But this week, you can see Captain Salah again. And both the biggest captaincy choices, Salah and Fernandez, both blanked. And despite that, he still managed to finish on a very healthy 78 points through Antonio being on red hot form, scoring a brace yesterday, getting an assist. Ings, what an overhead kick. And his defense as well scored really highly, both Trent and Tsimikas getting goal contributions.
Yeah, and you know, this is a very well thought out side, I have to say. Looking at his back three there, you can see solid. And I think there are a couple of the clean sheets all the way across the back, aren't there? So he's done quite well in terms of having a well-balanced side and being able to push quite aggressively at the points in the first week.
I mean, I was quite shocked because I think, if I remember correctly, last season, I think only 3 people, Imran, Didier and Paul Chandler, got 100 or over. And yet, first week of the season this year, and we've already got someone over 100. So it's like, it was a very, very impressive.
And we've put their debut season, so he's brand new to the league, and I think we did mention he was coming when we did our first show a couple of weeks ago, and it's good to see this though. It's good to see new people in the league pushing hard because I just get a feel. Yeah, I just get a feeling there's going to be a lot of fierce competition in this league this year. It's not going to be easy to win, but between the 3 of us though. I think we've got to say congrats to you there, Imran. You've picked me and Kyle. Well, you've picked Kyle because, to be honest, I just hear them look at the numbers.
You say congrats, but I'm still pretty disappointed with this.
Really?
Yeah, my sitting 8th, like Kyle said, me and Kyle, I think last season didn't drop out of the top 8 once. So to be on the brink of that already, it's a bit disappointing, but of course it's early stages. And like I said last week, you never know what's going to happen in a new season. Just before the first game week, Aubameyang gets COVID. And Aubameyang was the main banker striker in my team, the one that took a risk, one that took a punt and put a lot of faith in, 10 million, high value asset. And yeah, he's injured or out of the first 2 games. Little cameo appearance v
He's Chelsea. Not interested, mate. He's not interested.
Yeah, there is rumours that he could be off, but I'm still keeping faith. I'll still keep him in the team for now.
And you went for Wilson up top, I see.
Yep, first week he managed to repay that. Last game week 2 against Villa, he was very unlucky. I think he had a penalty ruled out by the tightest of offside margins, and he would have taken that, and he's pretty good from the spot. So it was a frustrating one, but yeah, I think Newcastle still have decent fixtures. He's there to stay, and I think he can repay me.
One of our youngest players, Christian Corbin, boom shakalaka, went on your very, every word you said in the first show, he said, yes, I like that. And I think he was top of the league at the end of game week 1. And I can see why he's following your wise advice there, Imran, because across the middle, man, you're strong, very, very strong.
He's followed my advice and beat me.
You'll like that. You absolutely. So if is a disappointment for you at the end of 2 weeks.
Still disappointing, but of course, second game week only. Lots to come.
Yeah, I think there's plenty more to come from you for sure. What about yourself, Kyle?
Well, as I said earlier, the manager choices at the beginning of the season can rock you a bit. As you can see at my bench, I've got Watkins there, who is injured. I did take a bit of a risk because I didn't actually know how serious the injury was. I knew he was injured in pre-season, but I assumed he'd be back by game week 2. So I did have the option to have him, who I think was 7.5 at the beginning of the season, and Ings, who was 8 at the beginning of the season. So I was like, well, he's cheaper and he'll probably be back by game week 2. But, well, he's not. And Ings has now scored twice. So, there's definitely a bad decision there. But I think also one big thing that's costing me is the fact that I've got John Stones in my defence who hasn't played a single minute. And, well, yeah, he's another expensive defender that is just sitting there in my team.
Never trust the Pep rotation.
Pep is just messing up everybody's fantasy at the moment, man.
Yep.
Honestly. Pep, come on, if you're watching, play Stones. What about across the middle for you then, Kyle?
Well, to be fair, I think my midfield has been quite good. I mean, it was kind of frustrating watching the Leicester-West Ham game because they put 4 past Leicester and Southcheck got 2 points. It was extremely frustrating, but what can you do? You just got to say it is what it is. But I was very pleased with Mount's assist, so he's performing very well for me.
I've got a feeling he's going to feature a lot in your side this season because you talk about him quite a lot, and there's a lot of expectation then, is there?
I do like the style of play, and he is playing very well under Tuchel's side as well. And now that Lukaku's come back in, the forward play is a lot, as you saw in the Arsenal game. We're very, very good going forward, so I reckon he could get a lot of points fantasy-wise.
Wow. Well, I think I can't even compare to where you guys are in regards to your teams. But what I decided to do was to, as usual, go strong at the back, go strong at the back. But like you, Pep is letting me down because I've had Stones in my team twice now. Mindful to remove him, and he probably will show up in this coming game week. I don't know, but it's like that's where I've fallen down badly. I didn't go for the more Salah captaincy the second week because I kind of felt as though I didn't think he was going to do it. And although he got a goal disallowed, and that seemed as though it was quite marginal, mind you, it was, but it was quite marginal. But I was quite glad because I removed him from my team. But I went with Pogba as my captain, and
it paid off.
He did okay-ish. But, he's always a little bit hit and miss. I was hoping that Willock would at least continue his rich vein of form for Newcastle. Was disappointed. And strangely enough, Bamford hasn't had a very good start this season. 2 games, he's drawn a blank, and, Leeds got hammered. And it's like, what is going on here? So you can see why I have ended up where I am, 22nd in the league. But not panicking. Not panicking. Not panicking. Not yet. It's too early. It's definitely too early to panic. Yeah. So I'm not too bothered about it. I'll see how things go this coming weekend. So overall, what are you feeling about the league then?
Well, I think with the new additions, the competition, the rivalry, it's just going to go up another level. I think there will be. Last year was a pretty big title race between 4 people towards coming into the last few game weeks. I think this year it could be even more, 5 or 6 players with a chance of winning it towards the end.
Mm-hmm. I think so. I absolutely agree. I feel we didn't zone in on our current champion, Paul Chandler, there, but I know that he is always strong. I expect, as you can see, Paul Thorpe has made a storming start, not to be unexpected. He's up there already in the top 4. And there are 1 or 2 previous champions who will be looking at this now and thinking, whoa, we got to take this serious this year. So what else been catching your eye in the news then? Because I noticed that there have been a couple of big transfers, or we call them big. you probably go on.
So definitely being Lukaku. Like when the news was announced, I was extremely glad. Like, as I said in the show before, like you're like, I don't know how his Premier League.
I'm still.
I mean, he did bag a goal against you on Sunday, so I wouldn't be too. But I think, as I said earlier, our style of play is very forward-thinking, and you've seen the kind of player he is. So I'm very excited, looking forward into the season.
I had a look at Lukaku's record actually, because after I made that comment, I said, actually, let me go and have a look at Lukaku's record and see exactly what he's done. And in fairness to him, he's scored goals wherever he's gone, but he's only got 20 goals a season once, and that was for Everton. I think we got 25 goals in a season. But he's not a prolific 20 goals a season striker in the Premier League. He's got 153 goals, which is, is pretty good return for 250 plus starts. I think he's got 254 starts. So you've got to say he is, and his record is there to examine. And I'm pretty sure that he will do well, but we will see. The jury is still out for me. I don't really look at Arsenal and think, this guy's ready. Nah.
Well, I think you mentioned the goals, but I think from the performance against Arsenal, you can gather that he offers much, much more. And if we look at the analysis we have on that game later on, you can see that Chelsea pretty much dominated the game. And I think a large part of that was Lukaku drawing defenders in, allowing more space for example, Reece James.
Amateurs.
Pinning Murray down isn't a huge achievement, but he still did it and created the space for him.
I reckon I could do that. So across the line, Willock left Arsenal, which I thought was a bit of a mistake, actually. But agreed. I can see why he's gone. He needs to play, and he's not going to play enough games at Arsenal, so I can see why.
But I would still say it's a mistake. I don't think any other Arsenal midfielder has the goals that Willock will have. I don't think anybody can replace that. Willock, I think, scored in 7 consecutive games. What Arsenal midfielder could you say could replicate that? I don't think Xhaka, Lokonga, Partey would be able to do that. And I think Willock would have been a really valuable asset to have, especially if Arteta wants to change system a bit to the 4-3-3.
Yeah, and I don't know why they've gotten rid of Willock. I know why he would want to go, because I think the guy needs to play. He's shown what he can do last season, and if he wanted to prove something to the manager, he's done that. So put him in the team, but he's off. So it's a bit disappointing for me, actually.
I have to say, I hadn't heard of Lokonga until the Chelsea game on Sunday, and I think he is quite a good baller. Like, he had a decent performance against Chelsea. I don't know much about him, but from what
he was one of the
saw,
only positive sparks against Brentford as well, even though it was an awful performance. He was the only one that I thought could hold the head up high after that performance.
Well, we haven't seen... Yeah, we haven't seen anything of Varane yet, other than a big parade on the first day at Old Trafford. But there's all the pieces there now for Ollie to mount a significant challenge for the title this year.
They can't stop anything less than a title challenge now. After they came second last season, they've gone and spent 73 mil on Sancho, 40 mil on Varane. I think title challenge is the minimum expectation now.
Go ahead, Kyle.
After Spurs beat City on the opening day, do you reckon the race for the title is going to be a lot closer this season? Or
with City, I think they always start a bit slow. Last season they started a bit slow as well. They lost to Leicester. I think was it 5-2 at the Etihad. But it's always Pep gathers a ridiculous run of wins eventually into the new year, and I think it's too early to even say that City will struggle yet.
I would agree with that, and I don't think you can make a lot of these first couple of games, other than I think Arsenal really deserves to be, and probably will be, fighting a battle in the bottom half of the table, maybe just like me in the FPL. Who knows? But I think that's to be expected. But again, perhaps the big transfer that we're waiting for, we haven't seen yet, because although we saw Kane starting against Wolves, coming on against Wolves on Sunday, but perhaps that's one of the big transfers that we're going to get to look at in the next show.
That could be also why you don't write off City yet. If they get Kane, that run of wins will come.
Absolutely. And they need a goal scorer.
Yeah.
They need a goal scorer. And right at the end there, we've got Arsenal's quest for a new goalkeeper.
Yep. I mentioned it last show, how
you don't rate Leno.
We did not rate Leno. I think no matter who you get in centre back next to him, even though Ben White's good on the ball, next to Leno, you'll never have confidence. And Arsenal answered my calls. They went out and bought Aaron Ramsdale, which, well, we'll see. The jury's out on him still. He's only played for Bournemouth and Sheffield in terms of Premier League clubs. And if we look at the stats compared to Leno, we can see that in terms of shot stopping, they're not too dissimilar.
No, they're not. I think when you look at the record completely, and this was of interest to me. So again, I went and I did a bit more digging, because I just feel that Arsenal's biggest problem is who is in goal for them. And although in fairness to Leno, when you look at him alongside Ramsdale, there's not a big lot. He's played a lot more games, okay.
Yeah.
But where they do differ significantly, in my view, is errors leading to goals, where Leno's got 8 and Ramsdale's got 3. And it just feels as though Leno is a little bit error prone. You can't win the Premier League with a goalkeeper who's going to be making, even 2 or 3 mistakes a season. Yeah. It's just not going to happen. So you can't even qualify for Europe with a goalkeeper who's suspect. So I feel in trying to strengthen the position, Arsenal have done the right thing, but there does not appear to be a lot of difference between the two keepers. Although watching Ramsdale, he does seem to have a much more solid presence, better distribution. But when it comes to the critical things like catching, throwing, distribution, and defensive saves, he's a little bit similar. But that one factor of errors is key for me.
I think the main thing is confidence for the defense and for himself. I think Leno's confidence is shot right now in Arsenal, and I think even defenders don't have faith in him. I think Ramsdale will bring a breath of fresh air to this defense, and I think a confident keeper can make all the difference. And you mentioned distribution. I think that's a very important thing. He's been at Sheffield and Bournemouth, where we haven't really got to see his short passing, it's rather been punting it long because they're relegation teams. Whereas for Arsenal, it'll be a completely different thing.
He could make a difference. I do feel he could make a difference. But is he going to play? Is the key thing. Is he likely to play?
I mean, I think we saw at Chelsea after we signed Edouard Mendy, our team was completely transformed. Like, and he's been number one ever since he came in, and his shot stopping is ridiculous. And we play out from the back very well. So I think if, as Imran says, the confidence within the back and the keeper can be retransformed, I don't see why he wouldn't start.
Well, I feel the first game of the season with Brentford kind of showed you how much the confidence is gone at the back for Arsenal. I mean, that second goal was just ridiculous. It was just ridiculous.
With the crowds back as well, it just makes it even more nervy, especially playing away. When you're playing out from the back, the crowd making noise, and the opposition team has got an invitation to press you, and the Arsenal players just crumbled.
Yeah, and you know, what more is there to say other than, is Ben White going to improve the back line, or is he going to struggle because he doesn't have enough confidence with the keeper behind him? And that's the conundrum for me at the moment with Arsenal.
I'd agree. I think hopefully Arteta hopes that Ramsdale can solve that issue.
You hope?
Well, from my FPL, I hope.
Well, certainly from my perspective, I hope so as well. And I think you had them finishing fourth this season, so
it better work.
You reckon? Okay. Well, when we finished our last show, you know, game week 1 was just about to set off, and we thought there were some storming performances from game week 1, and of course, in fact, Kyle might want to speak to this, because if I remember correctly, I think he said this guy was going to be his flop of the season. Is that right?
Well, after watching the game, I do think that this Paul Pogba is here to play this season. I mean, I was very, very shocked at the amount of assists he got. Firstly, because, well, 4 assists in one game is just insane for anyone. But second of all, because he managed to get more assists in one game than he did for the whole of last season. So, you know, even in the second game week, he seems to play a lot better on the wing than he does in the middle. I'm not sure whether that's because it's a lot faster paced and he can exploit. His long balls are just exquisite. It's a joy to watch sometimes. But I think Ole has found a space for him in this team to really exploit his capabilities. And I mean, if he keeps playing there, I don't see why he can't carry on. But I think the same case I made in the first episode can be made, which is the case of consistency. Like, he's got these 4 assists, but, you know, is he going to get another 4 assists for the rest of the season? Like, you know, it's just the case of what's he going to do from here? Because, you know, Pogba's a very, you know, one-off player, isn't he? Like, he'll perform this, like, mad skill in the middle of a game that'll be on every YouTube clip ever, and then just disappear for the rest of the season. So
he'll give the ball away in the midfield, and the opposition will score from it.
You know, he's just that kind of player.
I wonder if in those 4 assists, whether we've seen the best of Pogba that we are going to see this season. Well, because that's the danger, isn't it?
Yeah, I think Carl touched on it. The Pogba at left wing is clearly the best position in this Ole system. I think if he plays in the midfield too, he is too much of a liability. We even saw it for France. He has the capabilities to play that assist, play that incredible long ball, which opens up the game. But he tends to hold on to the ball in the midfield a bit too long. And if you remember Switzerland's equaliser in the Euros when France got knocked out, it stemmed from Pogba giving the ball away in midfield from holding on to the ball too much.
Yeah, and he seems to be finding himself in this outside position, as Kyle mentioned. But I do feel he struggles a lot from being inconsistent. Mm-hmm. You know, you would have expected him to come and stamp his authority on the Southampton game after the first game with 4 assists. You would think, well, you know, Pogba's going to grab this game by the scruff of the neck and United will come away winners. Yeah. Felt a little bit flat to me. Even though I captained him, and I captained him in fantasy purely on the basis of he's, you know, top of his game going into Southampton. Didn't happen for me.
Yeah.
I don't think he played too badly against Southampton. I
would have expected more. I expect him to be stamping his authority on the games and if, as we are saying, United will challenge, they've got to be beating Southampton. Absolutely, 100%.
It's going to be interesting to see if he's a regular starter this season, because they've still got Rashford and Sancho to be embedded. So will Pogba retain his place? It remains to be seen.
Well, or is he going to stay at United? Because there's still one or two rumors about that he might be off. Who knows?
Only 1 year left on his contract.
Yeah. We'll have to see. But he wasn't the only player who was grabbing the headlines in game week 1, was he?
Of course not. How could it not be Mo Salah? I mentioned it last show. He's scored in every single opening game for Liverpool since he's been there, and he carried that on. It's a Premier League record. First player to score in 5 consecutive opening games. And v Norwich, he was much more than just a goal. His playmaking throughout the game was incredible. He was a ball magnet, drew defenders, and he got 2 assists and 1 goal.
Listen to you.
Mo Salah.
You quite enjoyed that performance then, did you?
It was brilliant to watch. He got his 2 assists, got his goal, and it was just an overall Mo Salah performance. He's become such a complete player since coming to Liverpool from Roma.
Yeah, he looks really ready. And I have to say, the whole Liverpool side, looking across all the teams who you expect to be challenging, they look the most ready to me to really go after this early. No slip-ups, 2 wins in the bag, and your best players looking imperious already. So
of course,
it was great. And of course, everybody captained him in the first week. On your suggestion.
You're welcome.
I mean, for me, it was a no-brainer to captain Salah on the opening day. I mean, as has been seen, he's just... But every time he gets the ball, it's just fear if you're going to play against him, because he's going to do something dangerous. Like, the guy's dribbling is ridiculous. Like, I don't know how he keeps the ball so close to his feet while running at that speed, but he just does it. And I mean, why he had so much space on the edge of the box after that corner was beyond me. But the guy's finishing is something else. Like, yes, he had space, but to finish it the way he did is still, wow.
Yeah, I do feel, whilst we were just talking about Pogba and his inconsistencies, I do feel that Salah is fairly consistent when it comes to... Yeah. And I feel, he looks ready. Liverpool look ready. I can't really see past them and Chelsea so far in this opening couple of games of the season. They look very, very strong. So naturally, once we had the conclusion of game week 2, you guys decided to start looking across the teams to see who actually is worthy of team of the week. So talk us through then, Kyle.
Well, in terms of that back 5, I mean, just watching that Liverpool game, the way that Tsimikas and Trent controlled the game from the back, like, I mean, I know while watching the Euros, everyone was like, wow, we seriously missed Trent, but just watching some of the runs and some of the balls that he plays, like, you forget he's right-footed half the time sometimes, because you're like, how is he doing this with his left foot? But, like, the way he just, like, makes passes look easy from the back of the field, like, it's just something else. Like, he really controlled both the Norwich game and the Burnley game. So yeah, he was a no-brainer for team of the week in game week 2. But Harvey Elliott was a shocker for me. Like, I know last season
it was his debut, wasn't it?
Yeah,
18 years old.
Wow.
Imran wouldn't stop talking about him at Blackburn last season. So I was like, all right, let's because I'm pretty sure at one point he had like the most goal contributions in, was it England or Europe or something? I can't remember.
For under 23s, he had amongst the highest in Europe.
It was just like, well, if this guy's a real deal, I've got to check him out. And so, well, he definitely had a very good game. He was robbed of an assist, but I guess it was kind of offside. It was a great finish by Salah, but it was disallowed. But even that, like, he was always there making runs. He's very, very confident for an 18-year-old. Some of
they're trying to kick chunks out of him.
He's moving like an experienced player, and he's only 18 years of age, so he's one to look out for.
I'll briefly mention Reece James, who I felt had an absolute cracking game against Arsenal. And I think Tuchel said he's come back from the Euros very confident, and you can see that he looks really, really confident in that position. And I mean, in all fairness to him, Arsenal gave him the run of the Emirates, but he does look as though he will cause teams quite a lot of problems this season. It looks really good.
Yeah, I think I mentioned it a bit earlier. I think that was also due to the fact of another player in the team of the week, Lukaku. I think with what Lukaku did in the first 20 minutes, pinning the defender, Tierney was gravitated towards him, which left Reece James, that right flank, pretty much all to himself. And you can see the amount of space he had for the cross to Lukaku and for his goal.
Yeah, and that won't happen every week, but I do feel that Chelsea have got a way of playing that will get the best out of Reece James, and he will create a lot of opportunities. The player in this lineup here that is really catching a lot of my attention as well is Basuma.
Yeah.
And wanted to do a bit of analysis on him, but we'll do that at some point in the future. But this guy, man, I think I said Brighton will struggle in the first show, but listening to the game, because I didn't watch this one, but this guy sounds like an absolute beast in the middle of the park for them. And Graham Potter is getting a lot out of Brighton, actually. I think they might do better than expected. You might have had them in the right place, Imran.
This is one of the reasons. I think he is a key reason to why I put Brighton so high. He's actually one that I wanted Liverpool to target to replace Gini Wijnaldum. He's really good on the ball. He's got a lot of responsibility in that Brighton team because he's the only midfielder, because they play out the back, of course, and he's the main midfielder that takes it on the turn when they're being pressed, and he deals with it superbly. His passing accuracy is always in the high 80s, 90s percentages, and he's got an eye for an assist, which he showed at the weekend with an assist. Yeah,
I'm not sure if he will stay at Brighton for the whole of this season, actually. Because I've got a feeling that quite a few people might be looking at him, and he would walk into any of the top 6 teams, I feel. Absolutely. I'd agree. Brilliant player. But, of course, we mentioned in our opening show as well, Villa have probably got a fantastic buy in Danny Ings, and he's paying that back already.
Of course. What a goal.
Oh, wow. Tremendous. Absolutely tremendous. but he will do well. He will do well at Villa, and if he stays fit, which is always the issue with Ings. It does feel as though he does pick up quite a few injuries over the course of the season. But started very well. Extremely well, actually.
Yeah.
I know we're only in game week 2, but I mean, can you say Golden Boot shouts this early?
Of course.
What, for who? Ings?
Danny Ings.
Oh, wow. That's
you mentioned it last show that he was only one off the Golden Boot when Aubameyang, Mane and Salah won it. And there's no reason, of course, the fitness is the main thing.
That's the issue for me.
But yeah, there's no reason to not put him up there.
It might be one that we need to look at, actually. How many full seasons has he actually played? Because I'm not sure he's played a lot of full seasons.
I don't think any since his Burnley days.
Yeah, and that's the issue when it comes to the Golden Boot shout. You just feel as though he's not going to play all the games. He's not going to be. But we'll see. He's after a flyer, and he looks really good.
Literally.
Looks really, really good. And of course, we cannot have a game week a team of the week this week without touching on your new striker, Kyle, because clearly, you said in the last show he's going to be imperious. He is going to score lots of goals. He started against a poor team, but he did what he had to. He did what he had to do. Yeah.
It was kind of annoying to watch because watching the game, he could have had a hat trick himself, but that save onto the crossbar by Leno.
Speaking of Leno, what a save that was!
It was a cracking save, by the way. But
it was.
It was a good save. You could have had a hat trick there. As Imran said earlier, the amount of incredible movement he had, allowing space for not only Reece James on the right hand side, but pretty much all of the midfield. It was insane how much he just. It was like a magnet with iron filings. Just the whole defense just gravitated towards him.
It's like a cheat code. You can just smack it into him, and you know that he will outstrength that defender.
And his hold-up play in that game was something else, man. It was.
But do you think teams are going to cotton down to that quite quickly, though? This is what Chelsea are going to look to do.
They can. But how do you stop it?
Exactly, because the thing with Chelsea is once you stop marking Lukaku, give the ball to him and he's going to most likely beat your one-on-one defender. But then if you try and get too many men on him, we've got the wingers and we've got the midfielders to just run past you. So it's a conundrum that's going to be quite difficult for teams to, fix.
I agree. I think he has made a huge difference to the team. I think he's the missing piece. Chelsea haven't added a lot to their team, but with removing Timo Werner, my flop of this season, if you remember, and installing Luke. Although it would be interesting to see a Werner Lukaku combination, but I don't know if Tuchel will play two up front. I think Lukaku will do the business and he'll try to overrun teams in midfield with wingers. But if he does play the two of them, it would be interesting to see how that dynamic works and what a Lukaku in the team would do for Werner.
I think against, for example, Liverpool this week, it could work, that Lukaku-Werner partnership, because with the back five they play, they'll sit a bit deeper, and it could be a really viable tactic to just go along to Lukaku and let Werner play off him, because the one thing you can't deny about Werner is he's rapid in behind.
He is, but I think I suppose the challenge for the manager is if he does get the chance, is he going to bury it?
That's true.
But go ahead, Kyle.
I mean, this was something I did try and touch on in the first episode. Is like, if we do get Lukaku, which we now have, is he going to have them coexisting? Because our three at the front system is working very well. I think it's something that Tuchel pretty much implemented immediately, and it's worked since day one, really. And so now with Lukaku coming in, I mean, I'm not sure if I would play. Werner can play left wing, but I'm not sure if I would play him.
Who played left wing? The options. Oh, it was Havertz. It was Havertz.
I know Pulisic started.
It was Havertz. It was Havertz and Mount that played off Lukaku. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think if they want to hit teams on the counter more, because via Arsenal, it's a game that they dominated. In a game that they might not dominate, for example, via Liverpool, you want to play a faster player on the counter than Havertz or Mount.
Yeah. I think, in fact, we'll look at that Arsenal game in a moment, but just to make brief mention of Jesus, who is the main man at City now that Aguero is gone. You can see him growing into that role as well, and perhaps this is what he needs, But again, if Kane comes, is he going to be, naturally relegated to a number two again?
It has been a bit sad for him because everybody's just completely overlooked him. Like we don't. Everybody's saying City don't have a striker. Well, they do, but nobody's paying attention to him. And if he keeps up the performances that he did against Norwich, then maybe he could be the person to fill that hole, because he was really positive. He played kind of like a right striker hovering around that right side, and the runs in behind caused problems to Norwich all game.
Yeah, and again, similar to Chelsea, Arsenal, you can't really make a lot of Man City, Norwich, but at the same time, for players like Gabriel Jesus, getting goals, making the right runs, impressing the manager is critical. Because if he starts to score goals, perhaps City might think, well, actually, maybe we don't need a Kane after all. And even if Kane does come, it creates another problem for Pep, because I do think he's got a problem with Grealish at the moment, who we haven't mentioned, by the way, and got a goal on his debut at the Etihad.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not going to deny that v teams like Norwich, he will get his goal contributions, but I feel in the big games is where the signing will be. Like, for 100 mil, you want a player to impact the big games, and I don't even think he'll start in the big games. I don't think Pep will start him in the big games.
I agree. So look, this Arsenal Chelsea game showed us a lot in terms of Chelsea's new attacking threat. And you talked there about dominance. Oh my goodness! Well, if you look at the two sides of that graphic, first half, second half, Chelsea were dominant in attacking positions all the way through the game. Arsenal just looked so weak. I
think Lukaku set the tone from the off. Like, straight away, it was so clear that the Chelsea game plan was to just fizz the ball into him, and he had Mari on strings. Honestly, Mari just could not get around him. He didn't know whether to be aggressive, back off, and Lukaku just knew exactly what he was doing. This is the player that has come back from Syria, a refreshed man, and you can tell he looks a bit leaner now. I think at Manchester United, he bulked up way too much. He lost a bit of his pace that he had at Everton, and I think he has it back now. And it was just a proper striker's performance from him.
As great a performance as it was from Lukaku, I think the team game as a whole was fantastic. I mean, like, the performances from Aspi and James were. I mean, I knew, like, watching the game, that everyone was going to focus on Lukaku, but Aspie and James in the game, man, what a game they had! Like,
I
mean,
love
like,
Aspie.
Honestly, like I was afraid at first because I was having flashbacks to I think it was the Community Shield when Aspie gave away that penalty. But I was like, Saka is definitely going to get past this guy at one point. But man, Aspie had him for the whole game, man. Like he was an absolute tank.
One-on-one defending, I don't think there's many better in the Premier League than Aspilicueta. He's such a seasoned veteran at it. He's every time I watch him, like he's the only one that really gives Mane a proper battle every time we play against him.
His decision making is top tier.
Yeah.
Well, because we will see how he goes through the season, but he's quite a fit player actually. It's amazing how much ground he covers in a game and how many games he actually plays in a season. He has not missed a lot of Premier League games in his career, and he's very, very solid. What's interesting about this graphic also is when Arsenal had their attacking threat of any note, which is really just before half time. And I think it will be something to watch with Arsenal this season to see when they're becoming more attacking just before halftime, just before they're going to see the manager. I just feel that this side does not make enough effort across the whole of the game, and this, particularly in these attacking areas. And in fairness to Arteta, the loss of his strike force to COVID has affected the start of Arsenal's season, but it does not look great. It does not look great. And I do feel, though, from the Chelsea side, this is what you want to see, a threat all the way through. And, I expect that to continue.
The one thing I didn't understand is why Arteta shoehorned Saka into a position that he's not the best in, left wing, to play Pepe right wing. I'd much rather Saka play in his best position right wing and either sacrifice Pepe or go with Martinelli left wing, because I think Saka is your best attacker outside of Aubameyang.
I agree. I think he went very weak with his substitutions in that game as well by hooking Saka. I actually felt he should have stayed on, and Pepe, who contributed very, very little in the game, should have been hooked. But hey, Arteta knows what he's doing.
Maybe trying to justify that 72 mil price tag, hanging on to it.
Oh, goodness me.
well, he has to. He has to get the most out of Pepe, but he just doesn't look very motivated at the start of the season. So if we go back to the predictions and well, not the predictions, but we talked about the first 6 games, and Imran, you said you expect a full 18 points, I think.
Yep. And I said that hinged on one man, Virgil van Dijk. And what we've seen in those 2 games is he's back. I don't think he's missed a beat. Honestly, his part of his the main part of his game is his reading of the game rather than physical anyway. And he never really burst into full sprint. So I was always fairly confident that he would come back fine, despite even if he lacks a yard of pace, because he rarely has to use that due to his positioning and his strength. And he was just dominant. Pukki didn't have a say. And against Burnley, very physical team, really physical strikers in Chris Wood and Ashley Barnes, and he dealt with them just like a normal Van Dijk performance.
Did I hear Klopp complaining about Burnley being too physical?
And I'd agree with him. Honestly, some of the challenges that they made, 92nd minute, if there was contact on a challenge with Elliott, he might have broke his leg. Honestly, some of the football they played was a bit, it was quite dirty, but it is what it is with Burnley. That's what you expect.
But you're sitting comfortable, 6-5-0, 6 points.
Of course, 2 clean sheets. Brilliant. Yeah. Shout out to Alisson as well, actually, because there was a couple massive saves in the Norwich game. Incredible save, triple save. And at the end of the Burnley game as well, a one-on-one, he saved it brilliantly.
You're happy.
Of course, yeah. And obviously
really I love watching Alisson because, like, things with keepers, when you watch keepers, you love the long acrobatic diving saves, but you just don't get that with Alisson because his positioning is just perfect. It's all I've never seen Alisson out of well, I can't say never, but like he's never out of position. Like, and as a result, none of his saves are glamorous, and yet like I just
you'll get no camera saves, but he'll just do the job.
Yeah, like so as a result, it's like you don't love the keeper because he's making all these mad saves. Like De Gea was one that, like back in the day, made some crazy saves. Like, and fair play to him because the saves were fantastic. But You don't get that with Alisson, and yet he's just a top keeper, and you just have to admire the way he plays.
I've never seen a keeper like that. Like, you're right, you just really do not see glamorous saves because his positioning is elite, especially from one-on-ones. He knows exactly when to commit or exactly when to stay back, whereas a lot of keepers, for example, like Edison, rush out like straight away, and it costs them quite a bit.
Yeah, good goalkeeping is about starting position. It has always been, and it still is. If you are in a good starting position, you don't have to worry about the acrobatic saves for the camera because you're where you need to be. It's about making triangles with the penalty spot, knowing exactly where you need to position yourself. And Alisson does it brilliantly. And I think he is, gonna... I just feel overall Liverpool look really settled. They look very challenging, and they're going to be consistent. So I feel you're off to a good start, and you're well on your way to your 18. So we'll see. We'll see how you continue to progress.
Next game is the biggest one, though.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Well, Kyle has got a similar matching record.
Yep.
And similarly too, I'm very happy with the way we started. But I mean, this third game this could be the game of the season, just like straight up. Like, I mean, I remember the game that won you the league 2 seasons ago. Was it like 5-3? That was definitely game of the season. Like, goodness me. And I reckon we could get a very similar game here. I mean, I know a couple of people, friends of mine, are saying this is just a 0-0 game, but I can't see this game ending.
I can't see that either.
There's just too much like potential in this game for it to end 0-0.
I think this is the game that will tell me how much progress Lukaku has made. This is the game. Because I don't think Chelsea has bought Lukaku to bully a weak Arsenal. They've bought Lukaku to come and show a strong Liverpool side what they can do at their very best. So for me, if he comes away from Anfield on Sunday with nothing, he will still be, in the words of some of our friends who will be watching this show, a flat trap bully. But we'll wait and see.
I think, and I'm obviously really excited for the game, and I'm fairly confident in Van Dijk and Matip. I think Van Dijk, whenever he's faced Lukaku in the past, has bullied him throughout the game. But it is worth noting that in those games, that was Lukaku at United, where he wasn't in his best shape. I think he's gone to Italy, become a bit more leaner, more faster, more agile, and he's just polished his game overall. So I think this will be a brilliant challenge, and I've got to back Van Dijk, but yeah, it's really exciting.
I think you've got to back Van Dijk because you know the history of Lukaku, but he looks good.
Yeah,
but let's see what he does come.
It's not just Lukaku's biggest challenge; it's Van Dijk's biggest challenge since he's come back from that injury as well. You got to remember. So it is really going to be an interesting battle.
I think one thing that most people sideline about Van Dijk is his speed. Like, the guy is just rapid. Like, I mean, as Imran said a couple of minutes ago, that you barely see him at full sprint, so that's probably why people discard it. But
yeah,
I think of all, like, apart from maybe his positioning, of all Van Dijk's attributes, his speed scares me more than anything else. Because, like, even if you do get the ball past him, like, I remember there was a couple of seasons ago that Adama Traore, who is just like a complete speed merchant, tapped the ball past him, and Van Dijk just, one, caught up to him, and then 2, bodied him out the way, which I don't know which one of those 2 is more impressive, but,
he's just a Rolls Royce of a centre-back.
Not many people can body Adama Traore, though.
Yeah.
For sure. Well, I can't make the same noises as you two because, you can sit there and smirk with your 650. I think Arsenal are heading for 007 if I'm and there's nothing mysterious about it. Right? We had a shocking start at Brentford. Okay, so again, Arteta mentioned, players out with COVID, but I still feel a club the size of Arsenal, the investment that they've made, the players that they've got, we've got to be turning over newly promoted sides. There's no excuses. We cannot be going away and losing our first game of the season, although I did say we don't start very well.
Yeah.
And there was nothing to be expected from the Chelsea game, really, even though, Kyle said in the last show, but you turned us over quite a lot last season. I didn't really see anything in that. I do feel this side is very, very weak. We are in a bad place. And for me, going to City, I kind of expect we will lose that game. So we could easily see this being a 007. And I wouldn't even go as far as saying that we'll turn Norwich over because we are just soft. We are very, very soft.
Yeah.
I don't see a lot of hope there other than Smith Rowe, but we can't put all the responsibility on our young players.
Speaking of that, against Brentford, I know you had Aubameyang and Lacazette out. So that's when you started a front four of Balogun, Martinelli, Smith Rowe and Pepe, with 3 of them being below 23 and one of them being about 26. And you would not be able to tell which one was the experienced pro there. Pepe disappeared in games that you want him to grab by the scruff of the neck.
No, he goes missing too often for me. And
Smith Rowe was the only positive.
I don't think he's ever proved his 72 million price tag. Like I think I bring it up in every Arsenal game he plays in. I was like, you paid 72 million for this guy, and it's just
yeah, we know. He just doesn't seem to have adapted to the Premier League, and it is frustrating looking to see where Arsenal are in the league, but they're where they deserve to be, and I just can't see how we're going to get out, But we'll see how things progress or not. Yeah,
I think as long as Aubameyang isn't set to leave, I think him being back will be massive for Arsenal in terms of an outlet and a goal scorer.
But he's got to be in the right place. It just feels as though his mind is not in the right place for me.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on behind the scenes in terms of transfers. I think if he is getting linked to transfer, I think his head will be in the wrong place then. But if he can commit himself to Arsenal this season, I still back him to have a decent season for Arsenal.
Well, fair enough. I'll take your word for it. I'll take your word for it. So looking ahead then, just beyond Man City, Arsenal, what are the standout fixtures for this coming game week 3?
And you can't look past that Liverpool-Chelsea game at Anfield. Crowds back, the first Big Six game at Anfield since crowds were back. It's just going to be an electric atmosphere and an electric game between 2 top tacticians.
It's a good call. That's a good show. It is. And if we're sitting here with Liverpool having won that game in a couple of weeks, we will know we're probably looking at, title contenders for sure.
I think that Wolves Man United game,
interesting one.
Looks quite tasty. I think Wolves have been really unlucky. I didn't watch the Spurs v Wolves game, but looking on the stats, Wolves actually played much better than Spurs in that game. Spurs only scored the penalty, but I think Wolves had something like 25 shots to Spurs' 12, which really surprised me.
I'm a little bit concerned about Wolves this season, actually. I think this post-Nuno period is going to be a fascinating one for them. Only because I don't think that they've freshened up the squad enough. Jimenez is back, but he's trying to find his feet. You can clearly see he's not completely match fit. I don't know how long they can go without his goals. And if you don't start scoring and getting points on the table, you're quickly into a relegation scrap. I
agree. This squad's still too similar to Nuno's squad. I don't think anything's changed in terms of even style. But I think the positive signs are that they're attacking shots off, but they just don't have the quality outside of Jimenez to get those goals. Yeah, I would agree. And I think the Brighton-Everton game, to me, is a standout one because I'm looking forward to the Basuma-De Correa battle, which we might look at in the future, sure, because I do think those two are at the moment, providing outstanding performances.
I think you should be quite scared of the fact that your kickoff is the early kickoff on Saturday as well.
Oh, yes.
Every single thing that could possibly go against you for this week is going against you. You got City away at 12:30 on Saturday after losing 2-0 to your biggest rivals. So, yeah, good luck.
Yeah, I would take a 0-0 draw now, to be fair.
A draw would be a great result.
That's not what you're keeping a clean sheet against City.
Absolutely, but I can't see it. I'm catching at straws if I'm looking for a 0-0 draw. But Aubameyang might be back, Lacazette might be back, and we might be a different team. Who knows? We
still no Ben White.
I would love a surprise. Yeah, but and that's where we will be suffering quite a lot at the back. But we'll have to see. I'm not expecting anything. As I said, I could be putting a 007 up there by the end of the week. So, we finished with the table. Surprising view?
Well, obviously, it's very early in the season. I think I'm interested in Crystal Palace with their new manager, because they were stuck in a rut for the last 4 years under Hodgson with the negative football. The fans weren't too happy, and I think it'll be interesting. With a new manager, you can always be wary. You could always put them as relegation contenders with the new manager, not being sure. First time in the Premier League. Of course, Vieira knows the Premier League very well, but as a manager, we'll see how he does. I think Brighton, of course, started really well. I think repaying their performances that they were unlucky with last season.
Yeah, I like them actually. I've started to watch a lot and listen a lot more to games with Brighton, because I feel there's something here. And Graham Potter is fantastic.
Yeah.
He really, really is a good manager.
If they gave him the backing, I think they could do really good things.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I think one big one that I think most people are overlooking is the fact that Spurs have got 2 out of 2. Like, I know there's this all talk with Harry Kane, but they've also got 6 out of 6 points. So, I mean, they're one of the 5 teams with a perfect record. So, I mean, you can say all you want about Harry Kane, but they've still got a clean slate there. So,
it's a good show. Yeah, it's a good show. That's surprising for me, because I was kind of anticipating the destabilizing effect at Tottenham with all this Spurs stuff. It might still come, but they've had a good start. You can't fault that at all.
Mm-hmm.
And clearly you can see Arsenal down there in 19th place. -4 already.
And we don't think that's going to change for the next 2 weeks or so.
Well, I just can't see where we're going to get out of it, And we'll be looking at games against Burnley in a few weeks as a 6-pointer.
I think there's no surprise seeing Norwich rock bottom as well. I think from what I've seen, they haven't really changed too much. The last time they were in the Premier League, their downfall was the fact that they're trying to play good football when they don't have the squad for it in such a high-quality league. And I don't think they've adapted to play more pragmatic football. And I think they'll be going straight back down. Brentford, on the other hand, look a top, well-drilled team. And 8th, 4 points from the first 2 games is a really good return for them.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, we've got to give a word to top of the pile, West Ham United. There has been a lot of talk from the fans at West Ham about moving to the London Stadium. The owners, Sullivan and Goal and Brady, they're always in the news. There's always something circulating around West Ham. But if they can back David Moyes, who we know is a top quality manager, they can seriously contend for the top half and top 6 in this league, because they're looking really strong and looking really fit, actually.
Mm-hmm. What you mentioned there about the backing is really key, because
it is.
They're going to start getting European games on the roster. And we see a lot of teams, for the first time they go into Europe, teams like West Ham, they struggle once the European games start, because they can't balance the teams, because they don't have the same backups like Liverpool or Chelsea or United, etc. And I think if they do, like, for example, their backup striker to Antonio is just a youth prospect. I don't think he's played a senior game for West Ham.
Yeah, and if they don't strengthen this squad, they will go tumbling down the Premier League table, because the squad is just not big enough. So Moyes needs to be backed. Final word then from you, Kyle?
I think I must ask before we end the show, because talking about West Ham with Lingard's spell last season, I was having a conversation yesterday with a friend of mine. He was like, what are the chances of Jadon Sancho becoming the new Lingard at United? And I was like, I'm not too sure, because, I mean, there's definitely the opportunity, but, I mean, I think he's just that bit better than Lingard.
What do you mean by the new Lingard?
Because Lingard is, I think it's not too far to say that his potential has been a bit stunted at United, hasn't it, due to the lack of game time. And I think,
of course,
I mean, if Sancho isn't, inputted into the team soon, then, I mean, he could...
But I think the difference is Lingard wasn't a £73 million signing, so I think Ole will have to embed Sancho into the team.
Yeah, true. I mean, I think West Ham will miss that Lingard effect.
Of course, yeah.
I think it would probably been a good move for Lingard to move to West Ham, actually. He seemed to fit the club. Some players just seem to fit certain clubs, and I think he seemed to fit West Ham. But he's not going to play very often at United.
Not at all, no.
Sure. So that's it from us. End of game week 2. West Ham are top of the pile. I am bottom of the pile in the FPL, but that will change soon. Remember to like us on Facebook on the We Global page, subscribe on YouTube, and we'll catch you on the next one. Take care.
See ya.
See ya.